Welcome to the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast. Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast. With me today are Justin Lehmann with Prairie State Genetics and Jason Hanley, owner of Care Waialua in Hawaii. Thank you very much for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach me at david@cannabisequipmentnews.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. Justin, I'd like to start with you. Just learning a little bit of background. What was it that brought you to the cannabis industry?
Man, I've been brought up around the plant because my dad was an outlaw biker. So I was always around. About 8-9 years old, he started bringing me around the plant. I started seeing them pop up in seedlings behind the shed in the backyard. I learned how to transplant them down into the creek. So the origin of my plant source was my father.
So were you helping your father with the cultivation side, or were you kind of just around the plant in those early stages?
It was both. At a young age, it was both, really. He was a truck driver, so back then he was able to drive up into Canada, bring seeds back down into the United States. So I was able to start with really with the plant and veg, and just kind of learn it from there with him.
Okay. So throughout your path, what led you to start Prairie State Genetics?
Man, Prairie State Genetics came together. It was a formulation because when Illinois went rec in January 2020, I had gotten out of rehab, still clean to this day, but I'd been a heroin addict up till November 22nd of 2019. So I got out, I was doing really well, and Illinois went recreational, and that's my home state. When that happened, people started hitting me up, hey, you got seeds, this and that, and I had taken like 5 years off. So Illinois pretty much drawed me back into it that way.
Well, also congratulations on your sobriety, man. That's a great achievement.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Jason, how'd you get involved in the industry?
Yeah, so I've been growing since I was about 18 years old. Basically, we were growing in during college and pre-college, just trying to grow cannabis for my friends and share that knowledge with them and share the plant with them. And that's basically where I started. My first joint I ever smoked was with my brother-in-law from a new marriage, and I was about 13 years old. And he passed the joint over to me, and he goes, "Hey, little brother, you don't cough, you don't get off." So it was kind of this funny mode, but I didn't use cannabis a lot in high school and stuff like that. But then as I got a little bit older, I started using cannabis for anxiety, just trying to relax myself while I was in college. I did 3 years of 10th Mountain Infantry as well. I was a veteran, kind of coming out of the same kind of drug problems, but going in the Army and kind of cleansing myself and going, hey, I got to get out of here. This is time. And then I went to college, graduated from Richard Stockton State College, 4 years, marine biologist, and that kind of sent me on my way.
So how are things in Hawaii?
Hawaii's a difficult state right now, as you know, or maybe don't know. Hawaii was the first one to pass a legislative law for medical cannabis in the year 2000. And so they allowed each person to grow 10 plants, and basically it's been sitting there for years and years and years. In 2015, the government was forced to take a look at how to open up the program to support people who weren't growing for themselves. And they lotteried out some dispensaries like they did in a lot of states. And right now, where we currently sit is we have 8 dispensary owners kind of monopolizing the whole market, with us trying to grow on the side, and the chaos that's ensued for us as well with just trying to grow. So, yeah.
Justin, how did you two start a partnership?
Man, dude, really? I got to say, man, my man's right here. I got to say, we came out to the Hawaii Cannabis Expo the year before, and we came out this year too in February. Guru Sue came out, my daughter was there, God Satan Stan, and I got to speak there for 2 days as well. And I'll be honest, before I came out, I didn't really understand what Care Waialua was doing or represented, and I kind of gave him some shit online. Truthfully, I'm a loud voice online. I'm pretty prominent, the voice of this new age cannabis wise, and I gave the guy a hard time. But truthfully, man, I even after my speech and everything, I went out. I talked with him. I gave him some clones and some seeds, and he invited me out to the farm, and I kept an open mind. I was like, I'll go out there. I got out here where we're sitting right now, and the energy and the love was just so amazing. And the heart that this dude had for the people that's around the shaman work pretty much that he's been doing of healing in this area for people that can't afford the dispensaries, dude, I got to be real. Like I was inspired by it, so I come back out and I wanted to help in these times.
Okay. Are you helping in terms of providing seeds, expertise, what are you doing on the ground?
Man, I'll tell you what, I come out here and I work from the ground up. You can ask any of these guys out here, dude. I shovel soil from the first day. I earn my way out on the farm. Coming out to a bunch of different farms like I have in the past and working with different farms, I kind of have a system in my head already coming out week by week of what I'm going to do. But man, dude, I come out here to spread joy, to increase the energy, and just to work hard for this man right here.
Like you said, Justin, you are outspoken online. What do you think fuels sort of your passion for the industry and why you're very careful to defend it?
Man, dude, I love this plant. I feel like for the longest time, especially the last 10 years, we kind of lost our emphasis on the genetic state of this plant. And we're even seeing that in the laws today. With Hemp and Farm Bill 2018, people aren't understanding that under 0.3% is deemed hemp, And we're going into a critical year right now. They rolled the Farm Bill 2023 over into 2024. At the same time, different states are going to be voting, and people need to pay attention. You don't want to happen what happened in California 2016, and then 2 years later, they established that Farm Bill that changes up some rhetoric in there,
What are your expectations as to what might happen in the next year or two for the industry?
Man, dude, I would love to see the plant free. That's the mission every day, is to free the plant. Dude, we got too many greedy politicians, and that even leads into what he's doing as well, working with the politicians and the people that are trying to break this down and money and tell people 5 plants, the fake owl sitting on top of the building. These are scare tactics to slow the plant down. I mean,
Jason, what is your philosophy when it comes to growing?
It's compassion. We started our farm in 2015, and it was all about people in need and compassion. We started off with about 20 patients on our site. It kind of is built like California, where you can stack cards. A person can choose their grow site, and then you can work with them to help them grow and get them affordable medicine. So my farm really just started with compassion, and it's still today this compassion that we roll with, and we're trying to work through and get a lot of things accomplished. Right now, they're just trying to shut us down. The dispensaries are lobbying hard to stop home grows and grows that have more than 5 people on them, and they're lobbying hard right now. And so it's been really difficult for us. We were also in October 23rd of last year, we were raided by Homeland Security and state entities, and they took everything from our farm. They took all of our cannabis. But the most important thing is there were no arrests or no charges to this day. So it's been a very confusing situation. Our doors were open to the public. Our doors were open to the politicians. We had the governor out here for 5 years straight. And then all of a sudden, federal government came in and took everything off our farm, but not shut our farm down. So yes.
Did they give you an explanation?
Their explanation was I was not in compliance with the state of Hawaii, and then there was some tax stuff in there, but we know it's all pretty bogus. We've been working with Department of Health. They've been writing our scripts for years. I've been on public testimony, exactly spelling out how our farm works, how we collect payment. Yeah, I've been working hard on all that. So to see the federal government come in here and shut this farm down, we're clearly aware that the state couldn't do it. So we feel like there was something in the background that allowed the Homeland Security to come in. It's very set in stone that the federal government is not supposed to be spending money on medical cannabis raids, and that's the Department of Justice. But Homeland Security is kind of gaining their own ground by doing this stuff because they don't fall under the Department of Justice. So it's been very, very frustrating and confusing. And I'll tell you, like even 2 days ago, I received a call from my lawyer. We were trying to get back some of our equipment. 4 months later, through a forbearance letter, and basically the federal attorney general said if they didn't give us a 90-day extension, they were going to go ahead and move with charges. We thought that wasn't significant enough, so we just let it go and pushed it away. But still, to this day, we haven't been charged or anything pushed on us.
One thing they did do, though, was they stole plants from 900 patients, though. Genetics had been saved for 7-8 years. We're talking, when you understand the genetic state of the plant, to breeders and to owners of compassion areas, how important these genetics are. All they did was come in and just steal 900 patients that need their medicine.
Right. So how long did it take you to restart operations? And you must have had a moment where you thought like whether or not you wanted to keep doing this.
Well, I mean, the fact that they didn't tell me cease and desist, and the fact that I was, supporting so many patients. We had 980 ground leases on this farm for patients, so we knew we were doing the right thing. I opened up 5 days later. My lawyers were against it, but I told them I really didn't have a choice. There's people counting on our Rick Simpson oil and living a daily life with medicine, and we really didn't have a choice but to move forward. So yeah, it's been moving slowly. We're trying to get replanted. We had medicine that they didn't get left over, that we still had medicine in other spots that were patients' medicine. So we're still getting patients' medicine. Our I guess our people who are visiting the farm is about cut in half because everybody's scared, but we're slowly trying to work back into that and get people back to the farm. That energy, yeah.
Was that a struggle in terms of like getting employees to come back?
We had our core people here, but I would say the struggle is the unknown of it all for all of us, and I think that was the biggest struggle that I even deal with. Even 2 days ago when the lawyers called and I'm like, what do I do? Do I call their bluff and push this case forward, or do I keep the farm open and just focus on my patients? And that's all I did. I just focused on my patients to keep this farm going and keep them having affordable medicine. It's really what it's all about. The dispensaries haven't been open for 5 years. Their ounces are over $400. They'll tell you they have a $150 ounce, but they don't. And so, they're just trying to force people into dispensaries that are not growing at home.
What is it like? Because I've spoken to a number of people on the rec side of things, but what is it like on the medical side where you're cultivating this relationship with patients and seeing real change in their lives?
Yeah, it's humbling, man. I mean, you can either cry or laugh every day someone walks in here. It's very humbling, and it's my duty now. I kind of feel like a Rosa Parks of some sorts, where it's like it just can't stop. You know what I mean? It would be a disservice to the people of Hawaii, and we've been working with growers and breeders and everybody across Hawaii to really gain support on this and push forward. But the politics are really powerful here. I don't know if I would use the word corrupt, but we come from pineapple and sugarcane industry in Hawaii that's long lived. It's been owned and operated by just a few white guys. So that's what we're struggling with right now.
Do you feel, was it a competitor that you think rose the flag in terms of you guys getting raided?
Yeah, we feel like the dispensaries and their powerful people behind them who are investors from outside of Hawaii, like Sunkist Oranges and stuff. We definitely got word that they went to the governor and said, hey, we're going to sue you if you don't shut this farm down.
I mean, that is incredible. And when you talk, Justin, when you talk about the positive energy there, I'm kind of amazed that there can be that environment so recently after a raid like that, just because I feel like it would shake it up.
That's what the plan is. The plan is good energy. Ultimately, it's a divine feminine energy at the end of the day, and we're just reciprocals with it, man. This guy's on a mission here, dude. I was so inspired by it, that it meant a lot.
Justin, one of the things I was interested in was your recent collaboration. I believe is it Kevin Blomberg of G.O.A.T Genetics?
Kevin Bloomberg, yeah.
Bloomberg. How did that collaboration come about, and what have been the fruits of it?
Oh man, that guy. Hey, he's a professional. Like, we're both from Illinois, G.O.A.T and I. I met him in St. Charles at an event in 2022 or so. And we just instantly became friends right away. I knew his side of the business from some of the collegiate work that he did with some college works and in the hemp field. But when 2020 happened, he came over to the THC side, and I'd already know who he was from then.
Okay.
Our collaboration we did was the UIOs, Ultimate Illinois Outdoor Strains. And we took some of my selections, and I let him have them for about a year, and he worked with them and hit it with his midnight fast pollen. So it did a lot for the plants. It's a pretty dialed in zone 5A through 6B line, and we're also running it out here in Hawaii to see how it does.
What is your philosophy when it comes to farming? I read that you're a fifth generation farmer. What have you learned from that legacy, and what do you bring to it in your day to day?
Man, it would be hard for me to say myself, but I think the guys that are around me can, speak on that much better than I. The guys that experience my energy working from the garden to the yard to morning meeting conversations to just staying dialed in with each person individually. It's multifaceted, and it's kind of hard to explain, but many different sources.
Do you have a strain or seed that you are the most proud of?
Man, dude, that'd be like asking someone with 1,000 kids what their favorite kid is. Now I got flagships I'm very, very proud of, but I love them all individually. I'll tell you the toughest part though is keeping all the lineages in your head. That's what separates, the ones from the others in this business, is keeping that memory just full of all the nomenclatures and lineages. That's where it's at.
I guess, do you have favorites that maybe don't get as much love as you think they should just because maybe they're not as popular?
Oh yeah, I got sleepers all day. I tell guys that, because when we do a line, I drop the line to open test it. So I open test it in front of people. I wait for the pictures to get rolling in. When they come in, then I officially drop the line. So at that point, we know the germination's good. We know that it's well tested. So it goes like that.
Okay. Jason, when it comes to what you're growing, do you have a particular product or strain that you're the most proud of?
I would say probably our pineapple strain that came from Big Island that's been around for about 30 years. It's got a little bit of Gorilla Glue in it. It grows really good out here. A lot of those old Chem Dog strains grow really good out here. They got a little bit of space in them, so they can handle what I consider is probably the most difficult climate to grow in. We're at 90% humidity every night, and so it's very, very difficult to find those strains that can handle botrytis or bud rot is really the most important thing. We don't really deal with powdery mildew. We got a pretty healthy garden, but we do deal with humidity at night and daytime as well, because daytime we get the rain events from being out here in the middle of the Pacific. So we get really wet as well. But our most difficult thing is nighttime humidity. No doubt about it.
I've farmed all over the United States myself. This is my final zone, to be out in and work at this equatorial. This is one of the toughest zones that I know of. And that's coming from the Midwest, farming up in Michigan, Wisconsin, Arkansas, East Coast. And out here, it's tough, but it's worth it though, because those big fat sun ripened heads, and Hawaii's special, man. It's got those knockout narcotic indicas. You feel me?
Yeah.
What tools do you use to fight that bud rot?
We do a lot of IPM, integrated pest management. We've got we really love Dr. Zymes. That's one of our favorite products. But we put oils down. There's all kinds of just getting the leaf saturated to keep the bugs off. But if they get on there and they establish, then we have to kind of pump it up a little bit with sulfo X or stuff like that. They really just choke them out, choke all the young bugs out, and stop the infestation from happening. But it's constant, routine, integrated pest management. Trying to use, Korean natural farming, some Jadam stuff. You know what I mean? Like really trying to bring the inputs and the stuff that's here in Hawaii, and not introducing new stuff, you know what I mean, that really has worked for farmers here for, over 100 years.
Mm-hmm. And they're under supplemental lighting, because electricity is 4 times as high in Hawaii as it is in Los Angeles. So that adds another variable to it.
What is Korean natural farming?
So KNF was brought to Hawaii 100 years ago by Master Choi, and it's basically using inputs that you have around the island. So, for example, a good nitrogen source might be just the grasses that are around you, that you can make a nice brown sugar fermented tea that you can go back down on, or you might use something like an ulu fermented tea, a fruit tea, when you go into flowering. And so not only are you introducing some of the sugars from the brown sugar you make with the carbohydrates, but you're also bringing in the biological material that's around here that really provides a nice safety into the beds, really protecting the beds from bad things you don't want in them, but also not spending a lot of money off the shelves, which we've seen the Cannabis Society just drink the Kool-Aid. Let's use advanced nutrients, let's use all this stuff, and it's not necessary if you really dive into it and understand what's around you right now.
And that's what's happened the last 10 years is people have lost their emphasis on genetics and took it to this boof head label product state where, we can make a bunch of money off labels. And man, we need to go back to the origin of the plant, which is the alpha and the omega, which is its genetic state. Even these politicians don't understand its genetic state of the plant. And that's what's going to free the plant one day, is its genetic state.
Do you feel like it's kind of been a divide in terms of the people that have lost the emphasis on the genetics, and then they're still purists like yourselves?
Well, I would say that there's going to be divides everywhere, but we always come under the same common leaf, which is the plant. So we can always come back to that. That's one thing. That's the Sumerian Durangi, the connection between the heavens and the earth. plants, our connection is that plant with each other. And it is a divine feminine energy. The flower that we smoke, what we press, it's divine feminine energy. It needs to be respected as so.
Justin, do you do any advocacy?
No, myself.
He's about to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jason, how about yourself? I mean, do you see yourself getting involved, particularly with some of the, barriers that you've faced in Hawaii?
Yeah, I mean, I've been forced into it. My patients have come to me and said protective. So I've already been lobbying for the last 3 years. I've spent thousands of hours providing testimony on different bills. So did I ever think I'd be that person? No, not a chance in hell. But where am I right now? We're at the forefront right now. Care Waialua has been, causing the state to rethink things. It's been causing dispensaries to go to the governor and go shut us down, because we know what we're doing is right. And limiting growers to not be able to grow, like in Hawaii, there's just not a lot of space to grow for a lot of people that live in town and have small houses and stuff like that. So this farm opens that wide open for them, and they can play as big a part as they want. They can come in and touch the leaves, they can volunteer, or they can just get their medicine. And that's what's really all about, is to be able to come to a farm, open environment that allows children, that allows family, that we're not saying, hey, this is reefer madness, get everybody away from that. This is about responsible adults. And when we got raided, there was 980 responsible adults on this farm with leases. Mm-hmm. So that is really, what's pushed me into lobbying. And, and I've kind of had to take this investigative journalist take on it so I don't get frustrated and just, it is what it is, but just keep fighting. And if you don't win, then it is what it is. And you just don't stop, but don't stop getting people their medicine. That's the compassion. That's what makes me drive. And, I didn't have this 20 years ago. This started happening to me when I was giving 2-year-olds Rick Simpson oil, or 70-year-old kapuna that don't want to go to the black market being overcharged and can come here and sit on my porch and smoke a joint or listen to music and eat and really enjoy the time here on Care Waialua. We are a 2-acre lot out in the middle of the North Shore, away from everything. There is nothing to bother you here. And when you come through that gate, you don't come through with politics or religion. You come through with your heart and compassion, and you share that with people, and you walk away from this place, hopefully sharing that thing. I mean, we've had lots of people even submit testimony now because they're getting involved and they understand what's going on. And a lot of people feel like it's hopeless, but it's not. It's working, and it's small steps in a large corporate world that's been going on for hundreds of years. And so you can't expect to win them all, but we just keep fighting. Yeah.
Where are you specifically located?
We're located on the North Shore of the island of Oahu,
okay,
in a small area called Mokulia. Really beautiful spot right next to Haleiwa, right down the street from the infamous big wave bonsai pipeline. So yeah.
Have you always grown in Hawaii?
Yes, yeah, I've been growing here since I moved here in 2005 and started some smaller grows in my house. Was doing a little bit of indoor stuff, and then once things started opening up and we saw what was happening outdoors, it changed our life. I mean, it really is. We've had a cannabis cup here, and the winners were all outdoor strains. They blew away the indoor stuff. So a lot of people think, hey, indoor is the only way to go, but we have seen our outdoor strains here in Hawaii just blow away the indoor stuff. So it's pretty fun to watch. Yeah.
No, I do hear that a lot. Like, people want to go more and more indoors just because they can control those inputs so much more. But what you're saying is that it just doesn't even compare when it comes to sun grown?
It doesn't, because it's straight up sunlight from Hawaii. It's got a serious terpene blaster. You know what I mean? It really, that full sunlight. And we're even in greenhouses here because, there is a lot of outdoor growers here, but we really like the greenhouses because we've got strong prevailing winds all the time. We have storms all the time. So when you're really trying to protect the crop, you got to get them out of that weather. You're going to have a lot of lossage. And when there's 980 people counting on us to get them medicine, it's a real deal. And so we try to do the best we can. Yeah.
So Jason, with the obstacles that you guys have been facing, are you more of a proponent of like federal legalization just to kind of even the playing field a little bit more? Or do you think that'll just...
Yeah, we're totally against legalization. And, old Hawaii here went through Operation Green Harvest in the Ronald Reagan days, and that really left a mark on a lot of the old politicians. So although you see some of our more liberal senators that really want to push legalization in the wrong way, they're trying to cut and paste bills from Massachusetts right now, which we know is a failure. But you also see the House side of things, which is way more conservative, and they're laughing at a recreational bill right now. But they're out of touch because they also don't want to update the medical bill, which could be making thousands of businesses around here safe, good medicine, people running their own businesses, people growing without fear. I mean, we've had narcotics enforcement division compliance checks that are just illegal and nobody's paying attention. And so we're really trying to bring the light back to that.
Yeah, thank you for that too.
Yeah.
Is medical not under the spotlight as much just because the overall size of the market is so small compared to larger recreational?
I would just say that cannabis is not under the light in Hawaii because it's been so put down and so reefer madnessized that, people aren't taking it serious until they're forced to. And that's kind of what the medical bill that was passed in the year 2000 had some language at the end of it that you will make this available to patients. So they rushed into their medical market with dispensaries. They only had eight lottery winners out of 440. One of them was Woody Harrelson. He didn't even get a license. So, and those licenses all went to the local people here that have been established, that are underneath old politicians, that were climate people for politicians, that are bankers here. They all got the licenses, and it's a big mess. Yeah.
So what could we do tomorrow to fix Hawaii?
Well, we're doing it right now. We're fighting. We're talking to our Congress people. We're talking to our state legislators, and they need to listen. You know what I mean? But really, it comes back down to the people. The people have to fight. They have all that energy has been taken away from them because Hawaii has scorned their locals for so long. Even introducing a high intensity drug trafficking committee back during Ronald Reagan days. That I was at a meeting the other day with law enforcement trying to breach this medical, saying, hey, if you guys don't want to go legalization, why don't you support this medical program so you support the people? I couldn't even get the director of the high intensity drug trafficking guy to shake my hand. They are very much in reefer madness still, and they think it is the worst thing that could happen to these people. Yep.
That's wild to me to hear that's perspective is still so prevalent.
It's very prevalent, and lots of people grow here. Lots of people smuggle cannabis into Hawaii. Lots of people. I mean, they've been doing this since they were high school kids. You know what I mean? So this has been around. If you want to talk about the black market, there's not even a black market in Hawaii. It is a market, and it's been going on for years and years and years. And places like Puna on the Big Island were thriving cannabis industries with car dealerships and small businesses. But when Ronald Reagan came along and launched Operation Green Harvest, you had the local law enforcement people now eradicating the local people's plants, and that opened up a whole avenue for crystal meth and other drugs that we never wanted here to begin with. And it caused a lot of stress and problems for people who are making money off cannabis. And that's where we are today.
Not to mention they're fighting it this hard now. And dude, we got a fentanyl problem on the streets. You can go to downtown Honolulu and see that. These people are worried about the wrong thing, man. That's why we go back to freeing the plant. No more laws, no more big changes, no more politicians grabbing the horse and running with it. We need to all stop, take a breath collectively, and look this back over.
Yeah, and I'd have to just add to that we've really taken our time to come up with a great model. And if you look at the state of Maine and their medical program, grassroots, utopic, law enforcement working with growers and small businesses. There is no law enforcement compliance. It's state inspectors coming in to make sure you have the right grow canopy. Law enforcement's been removed, but then when recreational came into Maine, big business got involved and they didn't control the canopy space. So they've kind of messed it up a little bit that way. But the Maine growers have fought for everything they had, and they are the model for the world. It's amazing.
They're close in population.
Yep. And we're about 1.5 million here, and so is Maine. So, yeah.
Okay. I guess I haven't heard that a lot. That sort of the poster child as to which way we could go is Maine.
It's Maine. Maine Medical. Maine's Medical is over 6,000 caregivers, they call them. And each of those caregivers can have a license to grow, to open a dispensary, to deliver, to do all those things within their communities. So they're very involved. They're mom and pops that used to be farmers are now growing cannabis, or they opened up their own edible business, and they're all working together. There's no fear anymore. You know what I mean? And so that is really, I don't know why Maine doesn't get that trophy, because they established this back in the year 2000 as well. I've been fighting for it, and they are hands down, nobody can mess with them. It's the most, you'll walk in there and you'll feel like you're in utopia. You'll walk into a Maine medical store like these guys, you know, this is the kind guys. And you'll go in there and see, now they're basically a lot of indoor because of Maine's climate, but you'll go in there and see 20, 30 different strains of different growers, not just their own strains that they produce. And they're affordable, and they're the best medicine on the market. And it's amazing. Yeah.
Justin, it sounds like one of the issues is kind of rallying the people to have a consistent voice, talking to regulators and politicians. You know, as one of the voices of the new age of cannabis, do you think that, you know, you could sort of lend some help with that?
Facilitate it. I mean, I'm kind of the underground voice in a lot of ways, you know. I'm waiting for them to bring me above ground. But I mean, maybe so. Hey, there's a lot of possibilities, man. I think, you know, working together and on this drive, we shall get it done.
Yeah, and I do believe, just like a lot of Instagram traffic is we love Instagram, you know, and there's a lot of haters on Instagram, but there's a lot of positive people that really put in a lot of time making comments and stuff like that. So I think Instagram is a massive way to get the word out, to get people involved. We have about 6,000 followers, and a lot of them are patients, but then we get people like Justin that come on board and start really pushing it, going, hey, people, I've been there. I've done this. You need to wake up. Please support Care Waialua, and please support what they're doing. This guy is for the people of Hawaii. My dream is to get the local cultivation rights back to the growers of Hawaii. They're everywhere here. They grow some of the best cannabis in the world, and they can't even operate because of the laws and the fear of being rated like myself.
Hawaii could change the United States, man. Hawaii can.
One thing that I've always been inspired by when it comes to the cannabis industry is the sense of community and working together. Jason, in your opinion, is there still a strong cannabis community, or has that become fractured?
I think it's still here. It's just a matter of getting people to come out of the closet because they fear. You know what I mean? And so, and rightfully so, when a farm like this has been operating for 5 years and the feds come and raid it, not even the state, that's a big deal for everybody here, because we haven't had a raid here since the Ronald Reagan days. So I think, you know, people are moving slowly, but then something like this happens and they take 10 steps backwards. But I think there is a way they can move forward and still protect themselves and not have to put themselves in the line of sight. So I think it's happening. You know, we also have the Oahu Cannabis Farm Alliance, which is another committee I started to bring growers together. We have about 1,000 people on that, which are small businesses, growers, and patients, really trying to get the word out to say, hey, you better fight for this, because if you don't, and they pass this legalization bill, it only empowers the dispensaries, and law enforcement is coming. And so I think a lot of people feel like, well, I'll just do the same old thing I always do. I'll grow, I'll sell to the black market. Well, you can ask the people of the Emerald Triangle what's happened to them. They've been shut down. They've been taken away from their land. They have
fighting Measure A right now. Yep. They're fighting Measure A to save their land. So, like, look what's happened. We can look at these states as past models and see. So that's why Hawaii is so pinnacle and key in 2024 with the Farm Bill coming through this year as well. It's a key state. Yep.
Well, you know, I really do appreciate you guys taking the time, and it's really inspiring the kind of the work that you guys are doing there. Jason, I'm curious, how is the do patients live on the farm, or is it that they work the farm? How does it work?
Yeah, so in Hawaii, how it works is you get your 329 card. The 329 card was passed a long time ago in the 70s, actually, as a 329 bill to start working on cannabis. So it's now officially called the 329 card. And with that 329 card, you can choose your grow site on your 329 card. So what people do is they choose Care Waialua as their grow site, and then we operate like that. It's either as a caregiver or they grow with us, you know what I mean? We have a lot of people on this site. They're allowed to grow 10 plants. We don't grow 9,800 plants. We have about 1,000 plants, which we share the medicine. We help patients manufacture the medicine. This is a one-stop shop that we've been building over 5 years and really helping people to get what they need. A lot of people need more than just flour. Sorry, there's a loud truck coming by. A lot of people need more than just flour. They need edibles. They need concentrates. They need 200 milligram Rick Simpson oil capsules to live every day. And really starting to try and educate the politicians on THC amount, and we should limit this. I'm like, you have a patient that takes 200 milligrams of capsules and you can only give them 10 milligrams. That's not going to work. And so really getting the fear out of them to understand, hey, this stuff is null and void. You're not looking at it the right way. So we're hoping in the future to start doing some instructional videos. The first one we're going to start working on is potency and usage. What does it mean to take a dab or use rosin or hash, you know, and not getting behind this, you know, in the backside of the Hawaii Intensity program, you can see all this my son committed suicide doing a dab, and so this stuff is really, really important to let these people know this is not about your children getting the medicine. This is not about everything going wild. This is about building communities so we can control all that stuff, so we are all in touch and not fragmented, just doing whatever we want to do and opening up a dispensary on the corner. That dispensary should be owned by someone like yourself, who's a community member that goes, I know who's coming in here. I know they're not giving their children this medicine without a doctor's permission. So it's a huge education thing that it has a long ways to go. Yeah.
Justin, you're currently based in Illinois, right?
No. I have a place out of Illinois and Lake Tahoe.
Oh, okay. Do you have any thoughts on the Illinois market ever since it opened up?
I do. I have nothing but love for Illinois, man. Illinois put me on deck in many ways from 2020 to 2023. I came out of the Midwest. That's why Prairie State Genetics, it came out of there. I shortened it up to PSGX World when we went international, and I started dealing with European market more, Thailand market more, and set my sights on Hawaii too someday in the future.
And I understand that you might have some Hawaiian bias right now, given your current location. But other than Hawaii, which is clearly the top place you've ever worked, what are some of the other markets that you've been in that you found particularly unique?
Oh, man, Southern California, for sure. Southern California is beautiful, man. I was out there for like 7-8 years. Shout out Swerve, the Cali Connection. He was one of my mentors and telling me about feminizing and those things back in like 2012. But also Denver, Colorado. I was out there from 2008 to 2012, all through the medical boom of 2009, the safer days and all that. That's a cool market back in those days. Hell, man, from Illinois to I'm in Missouri. Shout out to the Missouri dudes, Oklahoma, Wisconsin. I'm pretty fluent in a lot of different zones.
Okay. Well, again, I do appreciate both of your expertise. Before we get out of here, Justin, I'll start with you. Is there anything else you want to make sure the Cannabis Equipment News audience knows about yourself or Prairie State Genetics?
I would just like to say, really, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be out here in Hawaii with Jason and be able to have the connection with you guys and do this to get message out to the people this way. Man, everything said that I've said that needs to be said, and I'm very happy for it. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Always welcome on the podcast. And Jason, how about yourself? Anything about yourself or your work at Care Waialua that you'd like to make sure the Cannabis Equipment News audience knows?
Yeah, I would say everybody look out in the world and see what legalization has done for this plant. It has not freed the plant. And people need to really understand that when they sit down and go, just legalize it, it'll be fine. Well, the founders of legalization didn't put in policies to control things because it was a cost market, it was already worth money. So everybody needs to be really aware of, like, when they say, hey, just legalize it. That's where we are right now. And no state has done it right yet. They've all failed. And now what we have is dispensary owners that can't make money anymore. We have growers going out of business because their pounds aren't worth $300 going to the dispensary. So it's all warped. So it's really important for the world to remember, when you say legalize it, make sure you understand what you're saying and you know what you're talking about. And don't just go to the mat and go, hey, let it all be legalized. It'll work out. It won't work out. And it's not working out. And as a matter of fact, on the front of one of Forbes magazines with cookies on the front of it, burner, it strictly says there how the United States botched the cannabis industry. So people, please be aware of that.
Well, thank you again. I really hope we get a chance to do it again soon.
We're always here for you, and we're humbled. Thank you for having us. I'm stoked, and please get our message out. We're still going through a lot with the rates and stuff and trying to bring awareness. So if there's anybody out there who wants to help us and lend a hand and has professionalism, that we keep going. So
shout out Guru Sue and shout out my daughter Tristan too.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach me at david@cannabisequipmentnews.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. For Justin Lehmann and Jason Hanley, I'm David Mantee. This is the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast. We'll see you next week.